Right, namaste everyone. Nice to be with you again. So I'll just say a few words and we'll have another guided meditation. Okay, please join in. We pay our homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vichacharana sampanno sugato alokavitu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sata deva manusanang buddho bhagavati sawa Katua Bhagavata Dhammo Santitiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Hopanaiko Pachatam Vedita Povinyo Hiti Subhadipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujjapati-pano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Nyāyapati-pano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samicipati-pano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yatidam Cattari Purisa Yuka Miyata Purisa Pukkala Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttaram Punya ketang lokasati tipiso bhagava arahang sambuddho vichacharana sampanno sugato alokavitu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sata Deva manusanam buddho bhagavati sawa kato bhagavata dhammo santitiko akaliko ehipasiko Naiko pachatam vedita vinyuhiti subhadipam bhagavato sāvaka sangho ujjapatipam bhagavato sāvaka sangho nyāyapatipam bhagavato sāvaka sangho samicipatipam bhagavato sāvaka sangho yatidam cattari purisa yugani atta purisa pukkala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dakineyo anjali karaniyo anuttaram punya ketang lokasati tipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vichacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sata deva manusana buddho bhagavati sawa kato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandetiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Pachatam Vedita Boa Vinyuhiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangha Ujjapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangha Nyaya Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangha Sami Chipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangha Yaditam Chatari Purisa Yukani Atta Purisa Pukala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangha Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Arani Anuntaram Punyaketam Lokasati. So maybe I'll say a few words and then we'll do a meditation. So I've used the same technique 2 times, I think. Yeah. And I'll use the same one again. You can, if you find it's not helpful, just mute me. Do your own thing. I won't take it personally. But what I'm trying to do with this particular meditation is just ground people, get them grounded into the present moment with the way things are. And the body is just the way things are, bodily sensations. And so that's why the repetition of the patterning. And I think one big thing in that type of meditation is learning how to observe life before you think about it. To me, the contemplative life is very much that. It's not simply thinking about life. That's okay. Thinking about issues or whatever you want, but also the capacity to witness and observe the way things are from no thought. So let's say, like, I was just observing my hummingbird bird feeder, which is about 10 inches from my window. So I can see the hummingbirds very, very close. If I go up slowly to the window, they're right there. So this female was fluttering around and I was just watching her, and she didn't want to settle, and then a male came and tried to attack her, and it's quite interesting. And then also I saw her settled, and I saw her little heart pumping really, really, really fast. Now, that experience of hummingbird gives me some understanding of hummingbirds. If I go to a book, I'll get more information. So I'll have knowledge about how many times they breed in a season, or what their nests are like, or what their feeding patterns are. So I'll have a lot of knowledge about hummingbirds. But I think the experience of just being with this delightful creation, just this fascinating kind of creation, is different. So there's the understanding I get from knowledge, and so I do have birding books, and I read about birds, which makes it even more interesting. But there is something about that experiential touching of this reality and nature that is it's different. It's very different, and we want to be able to do that with our own consciousness. But then we do have books, we have instructions, and the instructions are kind of like where to look, what to look at. Did you ever notice this? So if I read a book about birding, and the book tells me, well, this is how they do whatever, and then I look at nature, oh, I get it, I see what's happening, and that's insight, right? Or right understanding. So my right understanding then is now both experiential and helped along by knowledge. Knowledge itself is simply information. Could be right, it's not wrong, but we need to get to experiential understanding of our own consciousness, because that's the only way liberation will take place. Otherwise, it's always an opinion. You have an opinion, it's not wrong. You know, you can have a good opinion and argue your case or whatever, but really seeing how it all works is right understanding at a transformative level. When I really see something in myself, oh yeah, I see, I get it. You're transformed, because from then on, your attitudes to life are governed by right understanding, and right understanding grows and deepens. So in the beginning, it's somewhat shallow or limited, and then the more you observe, the more that becomes apparent. Truth becomes apparent, but it's not someone else's truth. Someone else's truth can kind of point the way, but you have to have the, I think that you need a kind of interest in your own conscious experience, but not be self-obsessed. So meditation or self-reflection is not, it's not narcissism. It's not like I'm always thinking about myself in a kind of narcissistic way. That's ego, that's narcissism. But it's actually reflecting on consciousness as an element in nature. So just as I can observe a hummingbird, I can observe my conscious experience. And this is amazing. I don't know if the hummingbird's doing that. You know, the hummingbird's fluttering about and say, oh, this is what it feels like to be fluttering about. I kind of don't think so, but then that would be my anthropological bias. Do you think hummingbirds do that? Do they flutter around and think to themselves, this is what it feels like to be fluttering around? I don't know. I don't think they do that, but we do. Not only can I be scratching my hand, but I can notice myself scratching my hand. Not only can I feel bored with something, I can notice there is boredom. So that's a very special gift that we have. I'm not saying other creatures don't have that, but that's the gift that the Buddha asked us to employ, the capacity to reflect, not just to believe, and not just to try to change things without reflection. And it's curious, isn't it? Not only can I feel emotional ups and downs, I can know that I feel emotional ups and downs. And that's the attitude of the witness or the observer. Just as I can observe the hummingbird, I can observe my own mind, my own emotions. So what's the sort of inner hummingbird, inner ornithology which you should be doing? What kind of birds would it be good to interest? Well, I have two basic kind of critters I like to look at. One is suffering. That's your basic critter, your basic animal that you want to really get to understand. Just like you can really get to understand a hummingbird or a hedgehog or a deer or a groundhog. The basic thing you want to reflect upon is why you suffer, because we all want to get out of suffering, right? And it can be observed, can't it? I can feel some negative reaction to life, disappointment, or whatever, but I can also know that this negative reaction feels this particular way. And then I can see, what am I contributing to that? Am I creating more suffering? Am I adding to that? Or can I be at peace with that? And that's the Four Noble Truths. That's what we do. So that's the first creature to watch or bird to watch in your inner ornithology. But the other one is there anything that's unchanging? And that, from at least this is my contemplative bird watching. This is what I do. These are the two things which are important for me. Other things too, obviously, but they're usually subsets of these two. So as you all, many of you have listened to me, I'm very much influenced by the statement in the text that the Buddha says there is the uncreated, the unconditioned, the unoriginated, the unformed, Nibanna, the deathless, the harbor, the farther shore, peace. If there were not the unconditioned, the uncreated, the unborn, the harbor, the peace, Nibanna, then there would be no release, no escape from the realm of birth and death. So that to me is obviously, you know, I'm in the business, I'm a monk, right? So this is very, very important for me. And those two then are not, they're not mutually exclusive, because actually the statement that the Buddha gives us is the solution to the first question, why we suffer. And the way he, you know, the way that's approached is to look at craving. So in this meditation that we're about to do, you want to always have that inner attitude of both when you're feeling, you know, something's not working, whatever, what is the cause of your distress? What is the cause of suffering? Even if it's just a minor boredom or whatever, what is going on here? And the phrases I use is, what do I have that I don't want? And what do I want that I don't have? Very simple, right? So this is a kind of background to meditation. So meditation is also a contemplation, because if you don't ask that question, you just keep trying with desire and you get frustrated. You won't see, well, the reason the heart isn't peaceful is because of its attachment to desire. And that's not that you're not like thinking that all the time. You're just getting really good at observing your inner workings around that. It's almost like observing your posture. You know, like you know your posture, what it feels like. So we'll do this meditation again. I'll use the same pattern, and then keep that in mind. Like if it's not working, or whatever you consider to be not working, what do you want, or what do you want to get rid of? Keep that as a kind of background, and then observe, and you'll see some holding, some tension, trying to get something, trying to get rid of something. All right. So let's do that meditation again. I'll click the clock for 45 minutes. The timer. So take a posture that you can be still in. Feel the body sitting where you're sitting, or lying where you're lying. Establish the firm, you know, your posture firm. And then let go of movement. Just learn to be still. Not rigid, just still. Bring attention to your mouth, inside the mouth, the walls, the cheeks on the left side, on the right side, the base of the mouth, the roof of the mouth. Feel this as sensations, radiating, vibrating. Feel the lower jaw, the gums and teeth of the lower jaw. Feel the upper jaw, gums and teeth. Feel the tongue. Allow the sensations in the mouth to become conscious, vibrating, radiating, sensitive. And you're the witness. You don't have to change anything or get anything. This isn't a conceptual exercise, so you can let go of thinking, relax the brain. It's not a visualization exercise, so let go of imagery. Relax your eyes. Feel the whole mouth as a body of sensations. Follow a line inside, up to the eardrums. Feel the eardrums, the tunnels of the eardrums, sensations, vibrations, energy radiating. Follow the ear canals up into the ears, the outer ears, the folds of the ears, the tip of the ear. Feel both ears and bring that together with the mouth. Feel the mouth and the ears together as one mass of vibrations. No need for thinking. Let go of thought. Just sensations. Feel the sensations of the nose. Nose as sensation rather than concept. Feel the bridge of the nose. And then the air coming in the nostrils. Warmth, coolness, warmth, coolness. Feel the whole nose as vibration, sensation. And the sensations which are the eyes, the hollows of the eye sockets, the eyebrows. And the eyeballs themselves. Pressure, sensation. Feel both eyes, that whole area, as radiating sensation in all directions. Bring a line from the eyes to the center of the brain. Feel the brain. Sensations, pressures. Inside the forehead, feel the forehead. Let sensations become conscious. You don't have to create anything. If there's nothing there, that's fine. Just what is. Noticing just what is, not trying to get or get rid of, just what is. Draw a line back from the forehead to the center of the brain. Feel the brain. Scalp, inside the scalp, top of the head. Feel the sensations, let them become conscious. Vibrating, radiating sensations in all directions. Draw a line from the scalp to the middle of the head, to the brain. Feel the brain. Get a sense of the sensations being, they're not fixed things, they're vibrating, energy pulsating. Feel the back of the head. The back of the head, inside the back of the head. And a line to the center of the brain. Feel the brain. Bring all these together. Mouth, ears, nose, eyes, forehead, top of the head, back of the head, center, brain. Feel that all is one mass, one ball, one group of energies vibrating. No distinctions, they're just the body has sensation. Down to the neck, feel the back of the neck, sides of the neck, and the throat. Feel inside the throat. And that whole area as sensation. No thought. Feel the connection to the shoulder on the left side. Feel the neck connecting to the shoulder on the left side. Let it become conscious as sensation. And down the left arm, the upper arm, left side. And the left elbow, left forearm, left wrist, back of the hand, thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger. Feel the palm of the hand. Feel the whole hand as a mass of vibrations, sensations, tingling, energy. The left wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, the whole left arm as one mass of vibrations, sensations. Right side, the neck, connected to the shoulder. Feel that area, let it become conscious. And the right, must have said left, I meant right. Right side, right shoulder, upper right arm, right elbow, right forearm, right wrist, back of the right hand, the thumb, the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger, and the palm of the hand, the whole hand, right hand, as a mass of sensations, vibrating outwards in all directions. The right wrist, forearm, right elbow, right upper arm, right shoulder, all that is one mass of sensations. Feel both arms together as sensation, radiating in all directions. Feel the neck, back of the head, all together as one mass. Top of the head, forehead, eyes, middle of the brain, nose, ears, mouth, tongue, that whole, the head and the arms and the neck all together as one mass of sensations. No thought. All over the throat. Go down into the inside of the chest. Feel the chest cavity inside on the right, inside on the left, at the back, and at the front. Feel the whole chest cavity. Feel the organs, the diaphragm, lungs, heart. Feel the whole chest area as a mass of vibrations, sensations. The abdomen, the belly, feel the belly. Inside the abdomen, the left side, the left wall of the abdomen, the right wall, back of the abdomen, the front, and all the organs in the abdomen, the intestines, kidneys at the back, liver at the right. This whole area of the abdomen as sensation, not as concept, as you actually experience it. Vibrating energies. Pelvic area, feel the pelvic area. Feel the pelvic bones. The weight of the body on the chair or on the floor. Inside the pelvic walls, the left side of the pelvic wall. And the right side. Back of the pelvis and front of the pelvis. And then the organs, the reproductive organs. Urinary muscles. Rectum. All that whole area as one mass of vibrations, sensations. The whole torso from the pelvis to the chest as one unit, as one mass of energy brought together. The whole torso, both arms, neck, back of the head, top of the head, inside the head, forehead, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, tongue. That whole area, the whole torso, both arms, neck, and head as one mass of vibrations, sensations, energy flowing, radiating in all directions, spacious, open, spacious, vibrations in space. Feel the left hip. Make conscious the feelings in the left hip, the sensations. The left thigh. And the left knee. Foreleg. The left ankle. The left foot. And then that whole area, the whole left leg. Feel that as one coalesced mass of sensations and vibrations. Feel the right hip and the right thigh. Allow that to be conscious. The right knee, foreleg, the right ankle, and the right foot. Feel the whole right leg. And now feel both legs. Not as a concept, not as an image, but as the experience of sensation. Let that be conscious. Torso, arms, neck, and head. The whole body. Whole body awareness as sensation, as radiation, as energy, before thought. Before you think, what does the body feel like? Sensation awareness. that awareness. Bring the thought into your mind, I am. I am. And bring that thought down through the throat. Feel the throat, sensations in the inside of the throat. Bring it down to the heart, to the chest. Feel the sensations in the chest. I am. I am. Let go of the am. I. Let go of I, no thought. So be this awareness. Let go of becoming. Let go of resisting. Awareness of change. So let's sit for the rest of this period in silence. I'll leave you with that.
Brahmajaloka Dipati Sahampati Katanjaliya Divarangaya Chata Santi Dasata Parajaka Jatika Dese Dhamma Anukampi Mampaja.
Namo tassa bhagavato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. So it's our second day together. When we talk about Buddhism, we always talk in two models, I suppose. One is the model of social behavior, or what we call conventional living, conventional truth. So a lot of our questions are, how can I, a difficult family member or someone sick in the family, how am I going to deal with that? Or I got very upset by someone. And so those are the natural questions we have. Of course, questions like, how do I manage my bank account? But I'm not going to help you there. So I wouldn't know what to do. So we have those very real emotional, social interchange questions. So someone in our community had a very ancient cat, and they put down the cat. And so people ask me, so is that right? Can I do that? And I said, I don't know. It's your choice. It's your cat. So the moral dilemmas we face are quite individual. So we don't have a sort of absolute moral philosophy, but the basic moral philosophy is to do as little harm as possible and as much good as possible. I was relating a very curious experience we had in New Zealand this morning to the monks, and we had a cat by the name of Yeti. Yeti had 6 toes, so it had big feet. Yeti means Bigfoot. Yeah. For those who live in Nepal, you'll know that, I guess. Yeti belonged to a layman who became an anagarika and became a monk. And when he came as an anagarika, Yeti was a bit unsettled and ran away. So this man reported to the RSPCA, and 6 months later, the cat was actually found and brought to the monastery. And it was very bedraggled, very thin, had had a rough 6 months. And so this man was now a monk, and he took good care of it, and the cat stayed. And the cat was very much loved by all of us, and had its own heater, just a special heater for Yeti, and its own blanket. We don't have kids, so we do this. We have one cat. You can all come out of one poor cat. And so Yeti lived to be very ancien, very ancient. And someone, we don't know who, went to the RSPCA and said that by keeping Yeti alive, Yeti, the cat's back legs were paralyzed, so it was very, very run down, but they had good care. By keeping this old cat alive, we were abusing it. So the RSPCA then came and said, we have to put your cat down. We said, but it's our cat. You can't do that. He says, yeah, the law says that. So they came and killed our cat. But maybe for Yeti, Yeti probably said, finally, I'm out of here. So who knows how it works? I don't know. We didn't blame. It was just like, all right, Yeti, time to go. Probably quite comfy. Anyway, we have different moral dilemmas as individuals, and really that's, you know, you have to figure out what's the best I can do. Life is complicated. So that part of the teaching, which is about morality, livelihood, social relationships, I kind of think as maybe like Newtonian physics. The other part of the teaching is more like quantum mechanics. Not what quantum mechanics is about, but it sounds good. I really don't understand. I've tried to read about it. The other is a sort of different model of looking at life, and that's the model of looking at stream of consciousness. And stream of consciousness, it doesn't really matter what the social event is. So whether I feel upset about A, B, or C, it doesn't matter, because upsetness is a phenomenon in the stream of consciousness. Whether I feel inspired or disappointed, both are phenomenon in consciousness. So it doesn't really matter what the object is of my inspiration or my disappointment. These are phenomena that arise and cease in consciousness. So it's a different way of looking at your life. It's the inner way. It's the way of what we call like the five khandhas or the six ayatanas, or the mind-body experience, or stream of consciousness. There's many ways we talk about it. So you become the witness to your body-mind experience. And you can do both at the same time. You can be having you can be at a committee meeting or a Zoom meeting, say. You don't do in-house meetings, I suppose, but a Zoom meeting, and you're getting upset by someone saying something. You can participate in the discussion, and you can know the phenomena of upsetness. You can do both, can't you? If you didn't do both, you'd probably be in a psychiatric hospital. So we all do this all the time, to or worst degree, depending on the stress of the situation. So when we're like talking about meditation, we're very much looking at the phenomena of experience, and trying to some extent, figure out how can you calm the mind? How can you collect the mind's scattered energies? How can you compose the mind? And so this little meditation is one of millions of ways to meditate. And the idea is intention. You make the intention to what? To be present to phenomena as they exist, rather than trying to create something in the future, because desire to get something will never allow you to be peaceful, just by definition. Isn't it true? As long as I want something other than what is going on now, I cannot be peaceful. So wanting is a very important part of understanding, which doesn't mean I can't aspire to be a better person or have more peace or whatever. So aspiration is different than just wanting. Aspiration has a goal. So our goal is, to some extent, calming the mind, opening the heart, calming the mind, opening the heart. But the present reality might be, well, I'm not very calm, and I feel very agitated by something. So we have to come to the present reality. So the aspirate, you could say, I want to be a better person, but not by getting rid of this feeling. This feeling is as it is. And then making correct moves and intentions to create or try to manifest a more harmless or peaceful state of mind. But once the mind has a certain amount of stability and peace, what then? What should happen then? And how would you evaluate if the mind has a certain stability and peace? Well, I would say that the mind is just not thinking so much. It's not ruminating, trying to create something or whatever. So what you want to try to get to in this retreat is like, don't fill the mind with distractions and projects and news. Try to let the mind just naturally settle down because it's not stimulated. This you find very beneficial. And then the echoes of your work life or family life have a chance to settle down, and the mind begins to have some more clarity, some more presence. And then you can just observe life from no thought. And that's what I was trying to recommend in this body meditation. So the body meditation was a very rigorous doing. Sensation here, there, it was very rigorous. But then what I was trying to do is take you to the place of, in the heart of just knowing, just do a being awareness. So it's more like a being. And then hopefully you start to just notice, well, how does consciousness work in this situation? What's happening? How does it feel right now to be here? Now, if you're used to doing something all the time and achieving something, then when I just throw you into that kind of blank state or whatever, you might think, okay, what now? What do I need to do now? That's desire. This movement to the future. And that's where the question for me comes up of, so what is not created? What is not conditioned? What is Nibanna about? You know, what is that just for monks? Or was that just for those fabulous beings at the time of the Buddha, and we in Kali Yuga now, and we can never do that? That's a kind of cultural bias, but I don't know about you, but I'm kind of curious. So what might that be? So curiosity then, from that silence, creates a possibility of just observing in the silence. And then from that observation, you can ask that kind of really profound question. Well, what's unchanging? What's unchanging? And what are you left with? Well, crickets changing, breath changing, smells changing, thoughts coming and going, emotions coming and going, memories coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And you're always taken back to what? To awareness. That could be the only thing that kind of here and now, akalika Dhamma. It's not a matter of time. You don't find this later. It's something in the here and now. What could it be? So you begin to intuit it must be something about awareness itself, rather than the objects of awareness. So when we begin meditation, we use an object, right? The breath, body, mantra, a visualization, anything. What's the point of it? Is it always just trying to pacify the mind with an object, or is that simply a method for a deeper understanding? I would say it's a method for a deeper understanding. So this is samma-samadhi. Samma-samadhi is the composure of the mind, collectedness of the mind. Now, the definitions of samma-samadhi can sound very exalted and very technical and very refined. And what I like to talk is to people who have been meditating a long time, that have a sense of quietness, and then have the kind of, they've read these teachings and pondered them. So I enjoy teaching everyone, but in this case, it would be those who have had more experience. So your mind has some sense of calm and presence, and then you are the, you what do you say? Say, be the awareness, right? The Luang Por says that. I like to say that, be the awareness itself. And that's what I was trying to do, say at the end of as the body meditation came to an end, that's what I was trying to bring you to, being awareness itself. Now, when there's the being of awareness, it's very hard to explain, but you just do this with me if you want. Like if I'm looking at two pictures across the room. Luang Por Cha on the right, Luang Por Liam on the left. One's black framed, one's gold framed. Okay? Those are the objects, and I describe them. Now, if I don't describe them, and I don't describe myself as I'm sitting here I'm looking at the pictures. I don't make any comment about that. There's no thought about it. Just looking. What is noticed is that awareness is not separate from those pictures. If I'm quiet, I can't say that awareness is here and the pictures are there. To me, it all seems one. So there's that. But also, when I contemplate that these pictures are in awareness, there's a distinction that the awareness is kind of the same, but not the same. And this is a kind of, it turns on itself. It's very hard to explain, but I think this will bring you to deep silence and what we call non-duality. So I look at the pictures and I let go of thought, let go of definition. And awareness is one with that. It's not separate. And yet there is distinction because there's also sound of the crickets, feeling in the body. So it's both one with and distinct from. Now I know this is difficult and hopefully it will make you ponder for the rest of the retreat. But once your mind is quiet, just do that. Like listen to sound. Now is sound separate from awareness? Now if you take the Newtonian physics, then yes, I'm here and the sound is out there. But if you drop that and you just let go of the sense of me listening to something and just allow sound to be there in listening, is awareness separate or is it merged with? I can't find a separation, but I can find a distinction. I can see, yeah, but it's also in awareness. It's a paradox. And I think in the realizations of the kind of non-duality in Buddhism, it's this paradox I think you need to ponder. Now, that, you know, it's very hard to explain actually, but do that with sound. Now sound has qualities. It has the quality of distance and audio shape, sure. And you know, there's the sounds which are far away and sounds which are near. Yeah, that's true. But is it separate from awareness? The thing is, you can't find awareness as a thing. Or take this, you're sitting here just quiet. Does awareness have a center? Does awareness have a periphery? Does it have a boundary? Is it solid? Personally, I can't find a center. Now I could say, I am here listening to that, and that would feel like I'm the center listening to sound, and conventionally that's true. But now we're trying to kind of approach the Buddhist challenge to us. What is uncreated? What is unconditioned? And when I do this, so I see the Buddha image over there, and it's not separate, but it is distinct. Now, if I see it as separate, and this is what we do with emotions, we see them as separate somehow, and I am someone who is having some emotion come through my mind, which is conventionally true. It's not, it's distinctly the emotion that I'm feeling, not you. It's not your, my anger is not your anger. But when I just let go of thought and self-definition, and I am angry, and why am I so angry? When you let go of what we call Sakkaya Ditthi, you enter into the Dharma of suchness. And what is suchness like? Well, I have to it's like observing the hummingbird. What is it really like? Can't find a separation, but it is distinct. So what the others in the room are feeling is distinctly different than what I'm feeling. Certainly, there is distinction that way. And I could, so on one hand, I could say, I'm witness, and these phenomena are arising and ceasing in awareness. So I can do that. But also then I can look and say, actually, they're not separate from awareness. Okay? Now, I realize that's probably, I hope that's not too confusing, but if we're interested in this kind of quantum physics of Buddhism, the deeper aspects, we have to let go of our fascination with objects. And the fascination with objects, and I don't mean just gadgets, I do mean thoughts, because thoughts are objects, and emotions are objects, and bodily feelings are objects. They're still objects in awareness. If we're always fascinated by those things and seeking our salvation in those, then of course we'll always be limited by them. But having said that, we still need to do our best. We still need to live good lives and care for each other and be responsible for the planet. Certainly, I'm not dismissing that. But what, why, the Buddha, what was he teaching when he says that? And so that's the way I approach that question, right? Not because I know that with any thought I have about what the Buddha realized is simply is a construct. It's another construction. And he said, this is not constructed. This is, we have the word sankhara, and then that which then is sankata, constructed, and apsankata, not constructed. So in this experience of looking at the wall there, simple enough, it's always there. What is unconstructed? Well, the whole thing is not a construct in the sense that I'm not constructing it, it is what it is. So in the here and now, there is this moment and there's this realization, both merged with, but distinct from. I don't know how this is, I find this difficult to explain, by the way, because I've never tried to explain this. So you are my friendly guinea pigs, I hope. But you can see, to do this, to have this kind of more, to me it would seem more interesting, a consideration, you need to do the work of emotional turmoil. So if you have just had a rough time with someone and you've just been spun around emotionally, you've got to work with that first. So how to work with that? Well, same thing really. What does turmoil feel like? As the bodily sensation feels like this. So by establishing this sense of presence and being awareness itself with turmoil, you start to see the release of that turmoil in consciousness. You're no longer fascinated by it. You're no longer preoccupied with it. If you are, that's where you have to work. If you're just preoccupied with some self-narrative of family or your emotions or your personal history, whatever it might be, that fascination will not allow you, that preoccupation won't give you the space to do this kind of contemplation. Now, this takes a certain kind of samadhi, but it's not a samadhi that's absorbed into an object. Because you're just absorbed into one object, focused on one. No, very open and present kind of consideration. And so you open your mind, abide in witnessing, and then be awareness itself, what is not changing. And then you start to really let go of this pursuit of objects. And that's why desire is so important. Desire is the pursuit of objective experience. And you see that that itself needs to be done often. You need to be comfortable, you need to be well fed, but ultimately it cannot lead to the realization of the unconditioned because it's always in the pursuit of objective experience. So you begin to see why the Buddha stresses nirodha, cessation of craving. When I'm looking at these pictures, I have no desire there. I don't want a particular experience. It's, it's just ordinary. It's just as it is. But that very freedom from desire gives me the opportunity to contemplate. Is awareness really separate from that? There is distinction. And the mind goes to silence. Now, this isn't the silence of samadhi in that sense of absorbing into something. It's the silence of non-grasping, of letting go, of Buddha knowing Dharma, of sati sampajanya. There's so many ways to talk about that. So you might, if this is if this doesn't work for you, fine. But see, for those of you who've had some experience with these kinds of questions, see if you can just see that, how that works and how it affects your mind. It's very effective at the end of thought. Like if you observe how you respond to thought, usually it's like one gets kind of caught up with thinking, and then there's the noticing, and then there's the sense of I am thinking and I have to do something about the thinking. Whereas if you do this, they say, well, actually thought is not separate from awareness. It's not separate. It's not one thing, and awareness is another thing. Awareness and thought are both part of the same package. You realize that awareness is always there, and there isn't this struggle with thought. Thought just is, just like that picture just is. It's not a problem. When I don't look at it, it's not there. Thought's the same way. But thought's difficult because it is so sticky, and we get very much fascinated by thought. So that was a challenge for me. Yeah, thumbs up and down. You can do all that to me if you want. Comment below. But I think I'll go to the questions now. I watch woodworking videos. They're always saying this kind of thing. So let me try to deal with some of these questions. So there is a very a troubled question about a person who has a friend, and the friend has betrayed the friendship by lying, and very painful. And the question is what to do. How do I handle this now? And so it's a very good friend. You have certain expectations of the friend, and then the friend lies, which is a pretty serious betrayal of friendship. And now there's this conflict of friendship and betrayal. So this is a social problem. It's also a problem in consciousness. And on a social level, it's very hard to say what you should or shouldn't do, because that's a very complex situation. But betrayal is very confusing. So first of all, recognize that when friendship is betrayed, it's very confusing psychologically. It's very upsetting, because your sense of how this universe works is kind of based on trust. So first and foremost, you make conscious the confusion that this has caused in the mind. Rather than try to fix it right away, it is very confusing. That changes the relationship. It's no longer the same relationship. It's now changed to something which has an element of mistrust. That's natural. I don't think it's judgmental. It's just biological. If something happens in the world where you feel endangered, your interpretation of life is going to take into account that danger. And someone lying to you is a kind of dangerous situation, life-threatening. So I think, what I was pondering is, like, first of all, recognize that it is confusing. And rather than trying to figure it all out, what should I do? What should I not do? What should I do? What should I not do? Just try to be with the confusion and not try to get out of it by projecting into the future some discussion you're going to have, which is going to solve the problem. It's not that easy. So first and foremost, don't try to solve the problem. See that maybe the problem is the desire not to have this feeling. desire to go back to status ante quo. How does that go? Status ante quo before? I'm trying to do some Latin, I'm not winning. Trying to go back to the history before. You can't. Life has changed. So, and we don't like discomfort. We don't like upsetting emotions. They're they're not nice, and especially a friend. So, and then our thinking mind tries to figure out a way into the future. What should I do? So before you go there, I mean, it'll do that. Just try to be with, I don't know. I don't know what to do. This really hurts. And allow that to process. And then I guess it's a question of kalyanamitas. What's a spiritual friend? So friendships are such that sometimes it's a true friendship and you can engage the person and you can lead them to a better place, right? They trust you to do that, even though they have mistrusted you by lying. But sometimes it's dangerous. So the kalyanamitta turns out to be someone who actually you can't be intimate with, or you can't share intimate ideas with. And there's no answer to that either. But I think intuitively, you will be more prepared for a response to the person when that response is necessary, if you first and foremost process the upsetness, the confusion of betrayal, then you have a better chance. But what you say to the person, especially face to face, you never know. We all plan it out, but we never say what we planned. And then we usually regret what we said. We all have that, don't we? Well, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say that. Then I'll say this, and then I say that. They come up to you, say something completely different. They spent 3 days planning what you're going to say, and that's just worry. You don't know. You don't know what you'll say. So realize, I don't know what I'll say, but I know what I feel like. I know what I feel like, and you go with that. I know what I feel like, and this is really hurtful. And then if the person's open, maybe you can say something, but you have to be cautious. From that point on, you have to be cautious, because if someone starts to break a basic precept, okay, be careful. You don't know. Be careful, because that's our agreement as human beings, that we agree with each other that I'm not going to hurt you by lying. I'm not going to create fear in your mind by lying. I can create confusion in your mind by lying. I give you that promise. I promise you, I will not do that. That's the agreement of Kalyanamitta, right? And when that agreement is held, I know I can trust you. I can share my secrets with you. When I need $10, you give me $20, that kind of thing. This is Kalyanamitta. So when you break the precepts, you create. When I create fear, if I lie, I create fear in the other person's mind, or confusion or distrust, and so that's dangerous. So if that person then is willing to hear that and say, yeah, oh yeah, God, yeah, I see, right, I'll try to be more honest, then maybe there's a way of working. But if the person says, no, yeah, it's your problem, not my problem, well, okay, then you have to back away. Nope. Again, it's the best thing always with these things is to process that hurt first and the confusion. So then, dear Luang Por, yesterday you mentioned that we've been bogged down with so many world crises, COVID, Afghanistan, climate change. What you said made me realize that I've been reading too much of the world news, but I feel so much compassion, empathy, need to help for the people of Afghanistan and those suffering from COVID and the effects of COVID to their lives, joblessness, depression, etc., and concern with the climate change. How, as a Buddhist, should we balance these emotions without feeling helpless and maybe slightly depressed that one cannot change the world? Well, reading that, I already feel depressed. This is what happens, right? That's depressing. And it's true. It's even more depressing. So what is compassion? What if I'm thinking about the people in Afghanistan, is that compassion? Is it really compassion? Or is it just worrying from maybe a compassionate basis? It's just thinking in negative ways about what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. Compassion is heartfelt, and it's not a thought. And it's different. Thought is something that's added to compassion. So thought can be skillful and say, okay, I'm going to adapt an Afghani family. I'm going to take care of them. That's what I can do. Or I'm going to send some money to UNHCR. That's what I can do. Or so there's practical things which compassion can compel to do. But it is totally not helpful to be worrying about everything, obviously, right? So contemplate what is compassion. Compassion is felt in the heart. So if you see an image of destruction and you feel the compassion, why does one need to keep going back to the image? Why? Isn't that a kind of voyeurism? Isn't that a kind of strange excitement our culture gets into in watching these horrors? You know, why do we do that? You have to ask yourself. Because if you've seen it once and you feel compassion, you can turn off the media and abide with compassion. Really feel that and say, oh, birth is like this. With birth, there's war, there's suffering, there's plague, there's disease. Birth is like this. And this is what the Buddha asked us to do, to take the predicament of the human condition, do as much good as I can with generosity, adopt an Afghani family or take care of people who need food in the COVID epidemic or whatever. Having done that, then the Buddhist idea is to contemplate the danger of samsara. Samsara is dangerous. It's always been this way. The plague of the 14th century in Europe, what did that wiped out? What, half the population? Half the population of Europe it wiped out, the Black Plague, right? So it's always been there. Wars in time of the Buddha, after the Buddha, before the Buddha, sickness. So that's a part of it. So if you are a card-carrying Buddhist and you have the good karma not to be in Afghanistan, not to be stricken by heavy sickness, not to be destitute, then as much as possible, share your resources with others, but also take this opportunity of good health, good mind, good society, good healthcare, to contemplate the unconditioned, that which is unborn, the deathless, right? Because that's what the Buddha was saying. He said, it's a real crapshoot getting born. You might think you're doing lots of good karma, but who knows, right? It's dangerous out there. And that is to sort of frighten you, but not to make you fearful, but to kind of compel you to look at what did the Buddha realize? And he said, there is a way out. Now, whether or not you believe in rebirth, it doesn't really matter because it gets you out of the suffering right now of your own heart. And then you are a much more effective person. The more you liberate the heart from greed, hatred, delusion, you can serve society much, much more. It's not self-serving, this teaching. I mean, all of us know that, don't we? We feel a bit more together. We don't need much resources. We share our resources. It's wonderful. So this idea of like just taking all this on board and then getting depressed, it points to what we call Indriya Samvara. Indriya Samvara is the sense restraint. Now, usually, when you talk about sense restraints, there's like, don't drink too much alcohol and be careful with your sugar intake or something like that. But think about the most powerful thing that we get into our body-mind experience. It's not a hot chili, a hot curry. It's murder, destruction, decay, we're all going down the tube. All of that is very, very negative on the mind, even if it's true. So, but what's the value of going there? Why so that you have to ask yourself that. Why do I do that? And so sense restraint would say, well, what if I don't do it? What if for the next 4 hours, I don't take in any news? What you'll find is you want to take in some news. The world is going to be okay without us for 4 hours, probably, right? I mean, I think, they'll sort it out. But why can't we not say, maybe, why can't I not watch the news for 4 hours or 5 hours? Because it's attractive. Violence is interesting in this horrible way, but it affects our minds. So what you put into your mind is so important. It's so important, isn't it? So some modicum of news, fine. The same thing again and again and again. It's actually very unskillful. So Indriya Samvara is one of the basic training that we get as bhikkhus. We have the sense restraint and contentment with little. Those two things are very powerful. Contentment with sense restraint. So for this person, I'd say, spend a day without looking at anything. And if you can't do that, why? What's going on in your mind that you need to know? And that's some form of desire, some form of need to be immersed in powerful news stories. And what happens when you say, oh, well, I won't do that for 4 hours? You want to switch something on, look at something. Then you can see desire, the desire to get reborn into this world. And then you don't do it, and you watch desire, your mind will become peaceful, right? Because two things. One, you're not filling the mind with powerful images, and you're letting go of the desire. So like what many people suggest now, do a media fast for 1 day, like on the Apostate days, the observance days in Buddhism. Do a media fast. Eat as much potato chips as you want. But do a media fast. That's much, much more interesting, right? You can have Coca-Cola, ice cream, everything you want, but do a media fast. And you'll see, ooh, that's not easy. And take the challenge and see, what do you feel like at the end of the day, the next day? You're just going to go into it, right? Or make that a habit, like every posted the media fast, and then start to introduce the media fast at certain hours of the day. You can do it. I mean, obviously, the world's not going to stop without you answering your emails all the time. And then what you have is a sense of what we call determination, adhitthana. You have a determination about your own practice and what you know is going to be good for it. That gives you tremendous sense of self-worth. You still have compassion. You won't lose that. That's always available. And whenever compassion needs to act, you will act. It's not like you're bankrupt of that. You have lots of that. But what you're bankrupt of is upekkha. And upekkha is equanimity. Upekkha is saying, your life is difficult. There's a lot of suffering going on, which isn't a dismissal, but it's an acceptance, a loving acceptance of the frailty of life and the difficulty of being a human being. And contemplating that frailty, then you see, wow, we are so lucky. We can sit here contemplating Dharma. We have a teacher, we have teaching, we have Sangha, we have, and you realize how valuable this opportunity is. And you work hard because this is a rare opportunity, very rare opportunity. So there's a person who has a lot of regret and guilt about the death of a loved one, parent. How, I won't go through that, but it's really touches the heart. How should we deal with feelings of regret, guilt, and the resulting anger? Well, first of all, realize that when your parents die, most people feel they haven't done enough. That's it's common, but it's painful. It's common, not dismissive common. It's painful. So even even though I took care of my mother, I still had feelings I should have done more. And really, I mean, how much more can I do? But still, so that's a natural, I think, response to the dying of a loved one. And then if like for this person, they were isolated from the loved one because of COVID, and so these very difficult extenuating circumstances, and then there's, I should have done this or I should have done that. Well, what can you do with that? Well, first of all, you have to somehow get away from the thoughts to the feeling of suffering. If you can't do that, then the thoughts will just be driven by the feeling of suffering, the guilt. And guilt is different than remorse. I often talk about that. For me, guilt is driven by ego, and guilt is a form of self-hatred. Remorse, which we call conscious, is a wholesome factor in guiding one's behavior into the future. So if I've harmed you, and I know I've harmed you, and I know my intention was to harm you, and I walk away from our encounter and I thought, oh, why did I say that? Why did I say that? I hurt you. And that's a horrible feeling. Now, if I take that horrible feeling and think it, then that's guilt. I'm terrible, I'm terrible, I'm terrible, which is heedless, which is attachment, which does not work. What to do? Well, take that remorse and actually feel it in the heart. And it's not a nice feeling. You want to run away with it with one thought. But if you really feel that, that leads to compassion. That leads to a more sensitive and caring attitude to this person next time. If you don't do that and you run with the guilt, you'll do the same person to someone else, because guilt is anger. It's not love. Remorse is love. And this is a very common kind of problem we have. Part of it comes from idealism, that I should be whatever, and then we're not ideal. Sometimes we're a bit lazy, or we have other things going on. So it gets very complicated. So I would suggest make conscious the feeling of regret or guilt or whatever. What does it feel like before you get it? What does it feel like before you think it? And be the awareness which knows it. You have to endure a lot because it's very unpleasant, and you'd much rather eat some food, get distracted, blame yourself. But blaming yourself is not awareness. That doesn't work. So you make, like, go to the heart, go to that feeling, and just welcome the feeling of guilt, but don't follow thoughts. That will take you to compassion, because it is compassion, and it's hurtful. It's very, very hurtful in the heart. But in the future, you'll be governed by that compassion rather than the anger and guilt. It's a very important pattern to understand. I can feel guilty about anything. I'm very good at that. I can look at someone cross-eyed and think, oh, so I know this one inside out. But I know it, you see. So, okay, this is a feeling. Okay, this is what it feels like. Dear Luang Por, I benefit so much from your teaching of staying with awareness and maintaining a sense of gratitude by thinking of people I respect. However, the mind is always wanting more techniques, more teachings, how to deal with a mind that is never happy with the status quo and wants more. Well, welcome to humanity. Welcome to the predicament of being human. Welcome to the tentacles of desire. And, if we did a hands up, probably you would get a lot of hands up on this one. We're all the same. And my first teacher, he said to me, less, not more. That was a good. And so the mind finds it very difficult to be content with little, very difficult to practice sense restraint. So what kind of language could you put into your mind to create the opposite of that. So if the tendency is to want more, what's the opposite language to that? What's the opposite? Good enough. One of our lay people, her email address is goodenough@gmail.com. Brilliant, right? So you identify a pattern in your mind, more. So some people want more cars or more clothing. You want more techniques. I mean, it's interesting, probably better than getting another car. But if you make that your practice rather than a problem, okay, that's very important. Is this a problem? No, it's a practice. It's what stream of consciousness is doing. You have to figure out how not to be preoccupied with. So identify this is a feeling of wanting more, and then start putting its opposite. Good enough. And then, yeah, but no, it's good enough. Here now, this is good enough. It's good enough like this. The weather is good enough. No, I want it cooler. No, it's good enough. And you start to introduce a whole different perception. Now you may think like, well, you just parrot talk, but it does work if you sincerely put it into the mind, and that creates a contrast rather than, oh, I've got this problem, I want too much. No, it's good enough. And then make that good enough a moment of silence. What is this moment like? It's like this, good enough. And then doubts come up. Oh, it's good enough. And one word can be very, very powerful, but you have to employ it. You have to employ it a lot. Good enough. Am I getting anywhere in my practice? No. Good enough. Is this samadhi? It's whatever it is, it's good enough. Do I have any insights? I don't know, but good enough. And you just keep challenging this beast who wants to confuse you. And you come on in, good enough. And then the other comes up, yeah, it's good enough. And am I a good mother? You're good enough. Am I a good monk? Good enough. Am I an okay ajahn? Good enough. Good enough mantra. You can't change your email because that's taken. And one more. Dear Luang Por, is trusting in awareness the bridge that takes us from the created to the uncreated? Yes, I would say that. Is trusting in awareness the bridge that takes us from the created to the uncreated? And it's not a bridge. And this is a curious thing. That implies going somewhere. And yet you have to use language. So it is the connection, it's the doorway. Yeah, you could say that. One more. Dear Luang Por, how do I manage emotions of liking and wanting to be in relationships with someone who is not reciprocal in the feelings? Well, that hurts, right? And is there anyone who has not had that? Right? Raise your hands. Is there anyone who has loved someone and been thwarted, or even person's contemptuous towards you, and so on? So if you want to pursue this relationship, well, I'm not the guy to ask. Ask your auntie. She'll probably have some big, kind of maybe how to do baked goods or something, right? So I'm not the guy to ask that. But the other, the suffering, is making conscious the feeling of wanting something but not having it. Obviously, right? Obviously. So having baked the cookies and given them to this person, and then the person says, don't ever do that again. And you feel really hurt now. Oh, my heart. I'm being facetious, but it does hurt, right? That's a real feeling. It really does hurt. Then you go back to your meditation cushion and say, oh God, did that ever hurt? And what does hurt feel like? And then you're trying to practice awareness in pain. but the pain is in awareness. If you are in the pain, if you are the pain, then you're thinking painful thoughts. It's not fair, or I should change my recipe, or something like that. Maybe I'll try banana bread. So that strategy is not working. I can't run with this anymore. You go back and say that this pain is in awareness. And that is the switch from attachment to non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It hurts. Attachment knows that this feeling now is in awareness, and you are the awareness. Attachment is you are the pain. You take refuge in the pain. You run with the thoughts of pain. You plan how to get out of the pain. And the person rejects your banana bread. And you try again, right? And even if you connect with this person and there are reciprocal feelings, those will change too. And we could all put up our hands about that one. So romantic love is definitely impermanent. And very quickly impermanent, painfully and disappointingly impermanent. I've been there. So then what do? Okay, then you have the same problem. You have the same problem. Now the problem might not be like unrequited love. Now it's boredom, which is even more difficult to deal with. You know, oh God, this is boring. If your refuge is in awareness, then you can get through the boredom and have a good friendship. Assuming it's not abusive, right? Attached is to romantic love, and you've projected all kinds of stuff onto this person who now really enjoys your banana bread. And then all of a sudden you get bored. You say, you've changed. No, they haven't changed. They were the same all the time. What's changed is romantic love has ceased, because it does. So where's the problem? Well, it's your problem. And then I remember there's one lady that used to come, an Italian lady, to Chithurst, and she had 6 marriages. You know, she's this really kind of vibrant Italian woman. She's quite old, but she was just full of beans. And Luang Por said, so why have you been married 6 times? Oh, I love falling in love. I love falling in love. And then there's the divorce and again. Now, this is a monk speaking, so I'm sorry. You know, this is the way monks make jokes. But I would say the challenge is, how can you make romantic love, keep as much as that as possible in respect, but change and not transform it, but continue it as Kalyanamitta. That this is your spiritual friend. This is a person who can advise you and you can talk your things through and so on. And this would be beautiful. And that would be the ideal relationship. It's hard. It's very hard to do. But Kalyanamitta is not romantic love. Romantic love might be a component, but it's something more profound because it's based on Dhamma. Okay. So happy baking, everyone. We'll convene again tomorrow.
Andamayam ovadagatha sadhu karang kadama se sadhu 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 anumodami.
We'll finish with Metta Sutta then. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Okay, everyone, be well. Namaste.